Tuesday, November 8th. We're going to do reedy stuff here in just a moment. Yes, sir.
I love you.
Oh, I like when you turn the chair back the way it's supposed to be. Let's go with tomorrow is our, thank you, Brody. Last day to read together. I'll read with you guys today, and then we'll try and do what we can tomorrow. Then after that, you're on your own to read after that. That's why it says your official homework is to read in the book, and you'll have through the rest of the time. We will get, this class seems to have issues sometimes. That's why I was trying to ignore you and move on. That's why a lot of times when you guys raise your hands now, I just won't call on you. And then we have final shadow test coming up. I might bump it to Tuesday just because I hate Monday tests, so we'll see what we can do there. And then e-learning this Friday, but it is not connected to Shadow Club. There is the same e-learning every 7th grader is doing. Homeworky things, those of you who owe me homeworky things, hopefully you have it done by tomorrow so that I don't have to make you stand. You don't lose any more B points, you just lose the right to get the chance to sit. And then again, if you failed quiz and you want to redo it, you can. You just have to do it and then email me and I can change your grade to the C-. So if you got lower than a 20 and you would like to at least have a C-, fix it and email me. Plans.
Do we have to read what is it that?
So now, if we go back to Shadow Club, let's see what part you got to.
No, wait, I
have a question.
I'm sure you do. 134. So we have not even gotten very far with this class. I know, that's why you see me not calling on kids again. Look at you guys just raising your hands for fun. So again, I'm trying. I mean, my other classes don't have to read nearly as much.
Guys, I'm trying to read.
Spoilers, again, as we get farther into it. And then, see, it's in there, Mr. Green, and, to remind you, your checkpoint is end of book this weekend. So I'll get as far as I can with you guys through tomorrow, which may be like, I don't know, 2 more pages. And then after that, you'll have to do your own at some point.
Spoiler.
And we got to, one of them is going to die coming up soon.
I know which one.
I do feel strong, and that's probably Tyson now, so I'm taking out the Austin part of it. For you guys again, we got to page 134. Lance, if it's not a good question like the last one, I charge you points.
Maybe I have to read the epilogue.
The
So-
epilogue?
Hang on one second.
Wait, no, that's a good question though. Like, I want to know that.
I know. And now you spent 10 for the week.
Me?
Uh-huh. You do realize you just asked that question, and I ignored you and moved on, which is my way of letting you know it was not a good question. And then I said, if you ask another question like the last one, I charge you points. And then you asked the exact same question again, which all I heard was, please charge me points. I bet you find out when I talk about it. Right, it's called patience.
Did I lose points for helping?
Talking out now? Yeah, we'll go ahead and throw you in there too.
No, I'll raise my hand.
I didn't call on you. I'm not your God, he's taller. Okay, so this is the part where again, we stop calling on you and we just get to embrace our grumpiness.
Oh my Jesus.
There you go, getting closer that time. Page 134. Huh? Huh?
You have 6 points?
Oh.
No.
I thought it called up to 6.
So we got 2? I did. So we got to this part.
He loves 6th grade. Yeah. Wait, what did we get? And then broke the heart.
Oh, you're a robot?
Oh my God, be quiet.
Halfway down, I was out on the field. Oh wait, we did find out what happened to the fish tank.
The fire.
Yeah, where he,
Yeah.
picture we
Swims
swims
like a fish.
Yeah.
Huh?
He blew up.
Huh?
Huh?
No. There you go.
Why does it look like a nuke?
Because I used a nuke.
We got past it. Guys, stop talking.
I was out on the field with Cheryl and Randall, consoling Randall from his recent humiliation. This seemed that the day before, after swim practice, Drew threw Randall out of the locker room with no clothes on. Almost the second I had convinced Randall it was better to forget about it for a while, we heard the explosion. So loud, you'd swear the whole school had blown up. The blast echoed from the high school across the large field, and a strange silence followed. Everyone turned toward the school. Not again, said Cheryl. At first, we all thought this was yet another school fire, but in a moment, I began to suspect it was another evil prank. I turned to look for Tyson, but couldn't find him, and that sick feeling returned to my stomach, along with the cold feeling to my hands. Meanwhile, several teachers ran into the school to evacuate the remaining students. For all they knew, a gas line could have blown up. Someone pulled the fire alarm, and in minutes, the fire trucks arrived. It didn't take long for the firemen to find out what had happened. From what I heard, there was nothing left of the fish tank, and that collection of fish that Drew Landers had spent years putting together was gone in a fiery fraction of a second. "Tell me the truth, Randall," said a kid after school. "Cheryl and I were talking before I went off to track practice."
Uh-oh. Where'd you erase my name?
You don't get to have your name up there. You have to have over 100 B points. There's a difference between doodles and putting a name to it. Silly child.
Can I put my
"Tell me the truth, Randall," said a kid after school. "Cheryl and I were talking before I went off to track practice, and as usual, Randall was hanging around with us, making obnoxious comments about the fact that we spent so much time together, when this kid, someone on the swim team, I guess, came up to us and asked Randall a question. 'Tell me the truth. Did you blow up Drew's fish tank? Tell me the truth. Come on, man, I won't tell anyone.' Randall was speechless. He turned to Cheryl. 'See? You see what I had to tell you? Just because of what he did to me yesterday, everyone's going to think that I blew up his tank. I'm being framed,' he yelled. Then he turned to the kid. 'No, I didn't do it. Just get out of here, all right?' 'Yeah, I'll bet you didn't do it,' said the kid, and he ran off. 'You better keep your mouth shut because I didn't,' yelled Randall as the kid ran away. He turned to me, Cheryl. 'You know I didn't, right? I was there with you all during lunch. You know I was.' 'Well, I know it, and you know it, but who's going to believe us?' 'I see a pattern emerging,' said Cheryl. 'Have you noticed that these pranks have been pulled soon after the victim has done something really mean to a member of the Shadow Club?' 'Huh?' 'Think about it, Blint Brain,' said Cheryl to her brother. 'Eric Kilfoyle's locker was filled with paint the day after Darren nearly got into a fight with him. Darren told me about that. David Berger's trumpet got run over the day after David was chosen to play for the high school band again, and he'd made Jason feel miserable about it. Tommy Nichols had just beat out OP for a place in the district science fair before the camera incident, and now Drew's fish tank explodes the day after he threw you out of the locker room naked. And someone's definitely trying to frame us. Exactly. And if anyone finds out about the club, we're going to be the prime suspects. We're the only ones with motives. We're already suspects because someone already knows about the club. Cheryl and Randall turned to me with that end-of-the-world look in their eyes. Green knows. I don't think he knows what we've done, but he knows about the club. And I'm sure he suspects us. Until then, I hadn't told anyone. How? Tyson told him. I'm sure of it. Tyson, said Randall with a hiss in his voice that made him sound like a snake. I told you he was behind all this. It has to be, said Cheryl. I'll bet we could prove Tyson blew up the fish tank. Like fingerprints or something. And then another voice entered the conversation. I saw him do it, said the voice. We all turned around, and standing there, braces, freckles, curly hair and all, was Ralphie Sherman. And what do we know about Ralphie?
He lies.
All the time. Keep that in mind. You're, talking about the fish tank, right? Said Ralphie. Well, I saw Tyson that got blown up. We were all quiet. Ralphie blew a big, fat bubblegum bubble, and it popped in his face, sticking to his eyebrows. He peeled it off and popped it back into his mouth. Yeah, it's true. I was in the classroom. I saw it. How could you have been in the classroom? You would have been killed by the exploding tank. Oh, I mean, like not in the classroom, but I was looking in through the window. I saw Tyson do it. Honest. But I saw you in the field when it went off, Ralphie, said Randall. Darn right. I wasn't going to hang around if a blockbuster's about to go off. I left as quickly as I could. We all looked at Ralphie. Ralphie Sherman, who couldn't pass a true or false exam because he didn't know the difference. Should we believe this? Ralphie blew another bubble. this one bigger than his whole head. And when it popped, it stuck to his hair. He peeled it away and shoved the gum back into his mouth. You know what? I believe him. Me too. So do I, said Randall. Ralphie's eyes lit up. You do? Really? Honestly, like, truly, you believe me? Yeah. Ralphie smiled and skipped off towards his bus, the happiest boy in the world. Is Ralphie telling the truth?
No.
Do they know he's not telling the truth?
No.
No, yes, yes.
Yeah.
They're being like ironic.
No.
They're being sarcastic.
They're trying to.
They're lying.
They're being
They're
sarcastic.
lying. That's it.
So why do they want to believe him?
So that they get more information.
There you go. So this way they have a reason to blame Tyson. So they know he lies all the time, but they're like, you know what? He's telling us what we want to hear. We're going to say we believe him because now it justifies Tyson being the bad guy. We did not get a moment's rest that day. For only 30 seconds after Ralphie went skipping away, we turned to see a commotion at the school's front gate. Hey! Yelled Martin Bricker to anyone who would listen. Vera can't stop her bike. She's headed towards Cellar Boulevard. Cheryl, Randall, and I raced toward the front gate, but it was too late. As we looked down the street, we could see Vera flying down the hill, screaming at the top of her lungs. I did the best I could. I thought I got pretty close to what Vera might look like.
What is that?
It looks exactly like her.
He has a bald spot.
Well, we're going to find out in a moment. She's not a very smart kid. Of course, I thought to myself, what an idiot I was. Didn't Abby have a big argument with Vera today? Didn't Vera call her a slob in front of half the grade or something like that? Of course Vera would be the next victim if Tyson were trying to frame the club. We watched in horror as she crossed through the first intersection on the way to Cellar Boulevard, which was down at the bottom of the hill. Luckily, it was a small intersection and no cars were there at the time, but Cellar Boulevard would be a different story. It was one of the busiest streets in town, and I could see cars and buses racing across it. She's gonna get herself killed, yelled someone from the crowd as we all watched Vera fly down the street. Can't somebody stop her? If she had half a brain, she would have turned and smashed into a fence rather than race across Cellar Boulevard. But as anyone can tell you, Vera Donaldson did not have half a brain. In seconds, she came up on Cellar Boulevard and went flying out into the middle of traffic. Car horns blared, a van swerved, a car screeched to a halt and was rear-ended. Vera sailed across the street, hit the curb, and went bouncing off of her bike, hitting her head on a fire hydrant, while the bike went crashing through Muggleson's bakery window, laying the window to waste and demolishing a 5-layer wedding cake on display. Everyone, including Cheryl and Randall, ran down the street to find out how Vera was. But I didn't. There was someone who I had to find, and I had to find him now. Who's he going to find?
Austin.
And there's my example of use your imagination. Whichever one you think is Tyson works for me.
Tyson's the yellow guy, sure.
Sure.
No, he's the guy with the
Yeah, Tyson's not the
That's the
one.
bro,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Sure. Why don't you pass? Go for it. You are now in single digits.
No, I'm good actually. I changed it.
Mario!
Can you use this?
If he wants to, that's fine.
He was just trying to take your points, though.
It didn't take long. He was standing by his locker in the main hallway. Tyson, you're gonna pay for this! Get out of my face! He grunted and tried to leave, but I grabbed him by his shirt, and as he struggled, I dragged him through the hall. Leave me alone, you moron! You idiot! You butthead! I didn't say anything. Not yet. Not until I had him in a place where no one would hear us. I dragged him down the hall and shoved him in the school phone booth, closing the door behind us. He struggled, and I shook him so hard he began to look like one of those marionettes he had up on his wall. You bumped my light switch.
Huh? You took the light off.
Oh, he did. Can we keep it this way? I actually like it this way. What?
Then, in case, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with them, but these things called phone booths, which we don't use a whole lot anymore, since at one time you had public pay phones that you had to like go put a quarter in and stuff like that. It's also where Superman would go and change outfits. If you go to Billericay Park, they have like the British red phone booth
Oh,
thing
yeah.
out front.
Yeah.
It's the same one. That's a British version because it's connected to them. We used to have one here at school before kids had cell phones back in dinosaur times when I started teaching. It's in the hallway where like the LGI is on the other side of this and the cafeteria is on that side. It's the hallway that goes out to the tennis courts. We had a like phone that was on the wall there, and during the day if kids needed to call home, they brought quarters with them. And they would have to go down there and take a hall pass, and they would just be able to use this phone that was out there in the hallway. I took the pictures this past summer when they were doing construction. They ripped everything down so I could find the phone thing again. The one that's there now, they took out all the inside stuff, so the actual phone bit is not there anymore, but technically the machine thing is there. This is still on the wall. You just can't see it anymore because it now has that in front of it. And so it gives you the same idea. So that's why that bulletin board is there, is because that's literally where the phone thing was behind it. To help you with this one, there we go. Technically, Jared's inside the phone booth with him, but I couldn't make that work, so just use your imagination. Listen up and listen good. I know what you've been doing, and you're not going to get away with it. I don't know what you're talking about. I put my hand over his mouth so he couldn't scream. He bit it, and I pushed him back so hard the telephone receiver went flying off the hook. I could hear the dial tone. If you scream one more time, Slimeball, I'm going to hit you so hard your next of kin will feel it too. That shut him up. I said, I know what you've been doing. I know you're trying to frame us, and I think it really stinks. I think you stink, Slimeball, and I'm telling you right now that if there's one more prank, if another unbeatable gets hurt, you're going to have all 7 of us in the club coming down on you so hard you won't know what hit you. I don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You told Green about our club, and now you're trying to get us all in trouble. Why did you tell Green anyway? Couldn't you have left well enough alone? All right, I admit I told Green, but I didn't do anything else. Liar! I didn't do it to be mean. Now, leave me alone. Then why did you tell him? He didn't answer me. Why did you tell him? The door of the phone booth flew open and Tyson flew out, falling to the ground. Why did you tell him? I screamed. He didn't answer. He just got up and ran down the hall as quickly as he could. I watched him run, brimming with anger. I couldn't remember having ever hated anyone as much, not even Austin. Then I began to yell, hoping everyone left in school heard me. Bedwetter! Bedwetter! Tyson pees in his bed! It echoed through the halls, and the sound lingered long after Tyson had burst through the school's front doors. If Tyson is guilty, hopefully this stops him because you literally just threatened him. If Tyson's innocent, well, then you just beat up an innocent kid.
Okay, so.
So we'll find out.
What the heck?
You'll see in a moment. I should not have gone to track practice that day. I should have just run home and buried myself in my homework. Or better yet, buried myself in my pillow and hidden like an ostrich until this whole thing passed over. That's what I should have done, but I didn't. Instead, I ran out onto the field to be with the track team, and that was a mistake. Because as everyone knows, bad luck comes in threes. First, on that fateful day, came the fish tank, then Vera's bike. Then came the nastiest run-in I ever had with Austin Pace. By the time I arrived at practice, Austin was leading the stretching exercises, and Coach Schuler was nowhere to be seen. I was about 10 minutes late, and it was never good to be late for practice. Well, looky here, said Austin. The Gopher finally decided to show up. Gazoon tight. Hi, Gopher, said Martin Bricker. Kids didn't even say it to be mean anymore. They just said it like it was my name. Give me 20 push-ups for being late, Gopher. I dropped and gave him 20. When I was done, Austin had the whole team sit down as he opened a large carton that was on the ground. Here are our team uniforms. Everyone was pleased to hear that. For a few minutes, I was glad I decided to go to practice that day. Coach Schuler will be out in a minute with the team sweats. Austin opened the box and began to hand them out. Miller, tossing Greg Miller his top and matching shorts. This was the first year that the team actually got new sweats and uniforms and had each kid's name on them. Some said it was because the track team deserved it, but most knew it was because Austin's father had made a big donation to the team. "Bricker," yelled Austin as he tossed Martin's shirt and shorts to him. I waited patiently, and he finally got around to mine. "Mercer," he said, throwing me my uniform. It felt good to hold the brand new uniform of the team, that smooth feel of the light, colorful material, and that new smell it had. It reminded me that our first meet was coming up soon, and I could hardly wait. My times were getting better, and although they weren't quite as fast as Austin's, they were pretty good. Now, to make it complete, I had a uniform with my name on it. I felt like a real runner, and for a minute, it made me forget about my other troubles. I couldn't wait to try on the shirt. So, although it was a bit chilly, I took off my shirt and was about to try the new one on when I caught a glimpse of the bright red name written across the back. It said, Gopher. I sat there for a few minutes letting it sink in. Gopher? My team shirt said Gopher. Austin, this better not be mine. I threw it back at his face, waiting to see what he would say. He caught it and looked at it. Says Gopher. No, that's you. He threw it back to me, and I clenched my hands into fists and gritted my teeth, and then waited for tomorrow to find out what horrible thing was going to happen next. That's where we stop for today.
Was he packing up right now?